I'm strong. What can I say? Glory to God.
Amen.
Let's get it.
We can't say same for the people of Donfase.
Yeah, that's. I mean, what?
Say same for them.
I mean, a ghost town. You know, these things keeps happening. Let's get into the stories.
Okay,
Ghost towns after fears of retribution.
From front page of Times there.
Okay, military personnel besiege Dom Farce after mob attack on 2 soldiers. Please grab 11 notorious land guards at Damfa. We have not abandoned uncompleted government projects. 23 inherited assembly office projects completed. This is Hajia Alima Mahama. Kutoka Airport to commence COVID-19 testing in preparedness for reopening next month. And government set to rescue cocoa processing from huge debts. President.
Front page of the Daily Graphic has a very, very important story, Bernard. Delivering quality education. GES reforms structure. Exercise won't cause job losses. School heads to have more powers. 120,000 businesses receive COVID-19 support, and government backs CPC's turnaround efforts.
The Chronicle has photos that could easily be like an action movie scene. There is a soldier descending from a helicopter and the other soldiers standing by their trucks. And the headline says, military deploys 300 soldiers, choppers, in search of 2 missing rifles. NACOC destroys 67 acres wheat farm. Mahama introduces Nana Jane to Tumfor. Help us clear our $108 million debt. CPC pleads with Nana. And they have a quotation at the bottom, 2 Timothy 2:4. No one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs.
From page of the Daily Guide newspaper. Campaign on achievements. Otumfor cautions Mahama. Births registration increased by 80%. Soldiers take over town this year, and Baumia serves political pundits.
The New Crusading Guide. Rollins replies Ahoy at last. A Japan deal sends bad signals to investors, says Tepe. Government will add value to cocoa production, Akufo-Addo assures. A €97 million Keta water project takes off.
Front page of the Daily Statesman. Be honest with Ghanaians. Otumfor charges Mahama to admit his wrongs in government. Fireworks in NDC. Rawlings throws salvos at Ahoy.
Now, if you check the ABC News, Otumfor is here. Confess your wrongs at Asante Hinu to Mahama. Sami Jemfi's data confirms 99.9% of Dr. Baumia's infrastructure data are accurate. And Seshuye also chief exposes NDC wicked agenda against SHC.
Front page of the Daily Heritage. Imani backs Okada business 30% category A vacancies for public school discriminating. And there's a photo of the director of NACOPS, Mr. Inokwesi Jetua. Ayariga vows to fight corruption.
The Vice President is speaking on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. He says we will help remove trade barriers. COVID-19 will come out stronger. This is EcoBank. And massive support for ex-Galamseyers.
Front page of the BNFT finally from me, Bernard. Easing of restrictions brings back business confidence, according to a new report. I'll give you details later. And preparations ongoing for September 1 airport reopening.
CitiNewsroom.com leads with Kunedo had no intention of succeeding me or contesting Mills in 2000. This is Rawlings. He also says Mills did not want to contest 2008 polls due to ill health, but Ahoy pushed him. Okay, military officers deployed to Domfa, Sahara City FM, City TV reporters. Meanwhile, there are other stories from yesterday's point of view. Baumiato, the blatant lie in cost of Nkrumah interchange. This is Sami Jemfi. Meanwhile, Okoboy defends lack of district hospital projects, says they are same as polyclinics. Other stories, it's shocking Mahama wants to legalize Okada because of vote. This is UOFI grant. And CSO's defend call for suspension of a Japan royalties deal. In fact, this morning there's a press conference to be addressed on the Japan deal. We need to keep an eye on that. So those were stories on CitiNewsroom.com. If you go to City Business News, position yourself to take advantage of after Akufo-Addo to the Ghana Stock Exchange. Also, outgrower farmers and one day have to receive financial support from ADB. And greater lament lack of continuity of government housing projects. Meanwhile, there's an article why the Akufo-Addo government must freeze the Ejapa royalties deal. This is from 2 lawyers. Let's go to My Joy Online. Their lead story has to do with Rawlings. Mills wanted to forgo NDC candidature in 2008 for health reasons. Also, 92 shops belonging to foreigners locked up in Suame magazine. And government deceived us and disrespected us, according to an entertainment pundit. If you go to Star FM website, MCE NPP executives clash over hot meal for students. This is in Suhum. Also, our return sees mining concessions to original owners, according to Mahama. And 500 former galamseyers receive vocational and technical skills. This is Hajia Alima Mahama. Let's get into the stories from the military side.
Okay, so let's go to the Ghanaian Times center page. And the military story is here. More than 50 residents of Domfase near Accra have been arrested after 2 military officers were physically attacked on Tuesday. Following the incident, the Ghana Armed Forces deployed military personnel to the area to restore calm, forcing residents to flee to avoid arrest. Some residents said they lived in fear following the clashes and heavy military presence. The soldiers were reported to have clashed with rampaging residents on Tuesday while protecting a parcel of land owned by the chief of Apeja, Achim Apeja. Now, the story goes on to say that, according to an army officer, the residents accused them of not having been officially assigned to that post. He added that even after explaining to the leader of the group that they were not criminals, the group simply would not listen to reason and proceeded to beat him and his colleague.
Well, the story is also on page 6 of the Daily Guide. Soldiers take over town, and they talk about the different versions of the story that is currently in the public domain. One version of the story points at a lingering land dispute between the traditional authorities of Domfase and the people of Achim Apeja town in the eastern region as being the source of the incident. Another version states that soldiers were deployed from the army headquarters Accra to the town to provide security to a quarry site, a situation which appears to have angered the locals, who ignored warning shots and pounced upon the soldiers and inflicted injuries upon them.
Meanwhile, the soldiers are reported to have harassed our TV and radio reporters. Story on citynewsroom.com. Citi TV reporters who visited Domfase to cover the latest developments in the area following a clash over a land boundary dispute were harassed by military officers who deployed to the area. Citi News' Premier Dunyame, who visited the area with another reporter, said military officers heckled them and forcibly deleted visuals from their camera. The soldiers would not talk to anybody. They would not allow us to film. At a point, they came over screaming at us because they thought we were recording what was going on. They took our cameras and they had to delete the visuals. And for the first time, I was very scared. We heard the cocking of guns. They just told us we have to leave. The officers were deployed after 2 individuals believed to be military men, and some civilians sustained injuries after the clash on Tuesday. Then the story gives you the background. Now, residents told Citi News the military personnel deployed to the area moved from house to house, demanding to see the men in the house. And then there are other details of the story given.
Now, you mentioned guns. So the Chronicles angle is on 2 missing rifles. The Chronicle says that the soldiers were going through the town looking for 2 rifles that the youth collected from 2 of their men.
Well, the people told our reporter that they were looking for men. So that's what your reporter said. So
Yeah.
maybe Chronicle saw different things. So that's the first story. The other one has to do with what?
Well, quite a few stories ongoing, Bernard. Most of them political, but I want to deal with reforms in the Ghana Education Service. That's also on the front page of the Daily Guide. And the headline says that GS reforms structure. Exercise won't cause job losses. School heads to have more powers. The Ghana Education Service is reviewing its structure to make the service more efficient and effective in the delivery of its mandate of providing quality, equitable, and inclusive education for the Ghanaian child. The reforms seek to look at the entire structure and spectrum of the service and restructure systems as well as job functions with a focus to improve and better manage them. Now, according to the Deputy Director General in charge of Management Services, Mr. Anthony Boateng, no employee will lose his or her job, and says that they are looking at basically harmonizing their operations.
You're talking about the educational reforms?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted you to go into some other stories now,
Okay.
apart from the issue at the FASE. The Rawlings letter is making a couple of big headlines in different places.
Yes, the Crusading Guide has that story. It says Rawlings replies Ato Ahoy at last.
That's Atu Kwamina. Yes, it's called Atu Kwamina.
Yeah. Now, the story says the office of the former president Jerry John Rawlings has noted with concern contents of a book titled Working with Rawlings, authored by a former appointee of the PNDC and NDC, who now calls himself Professor Kwamina Ahoy.
Hey. Is that how the thing starts?
Yes.
Wow.
Now, the book attempts to chronicle the history of the role Kwame Nkrumah played as an appointee of the former president, but disappointingly employs fabrications and grapevine accounts to paint a denigrating picture of President Rawlings and his colleagues. Everyone is entitled to his or her opinion. President Rawlings has over the past 4 decades tolerated various views, recognizing the fact that as a public figure, one would not be immune to such, even when said opinions are vicious and derogatory. However, the public deserves to be served the truth as far as some of the contents of the book are concerned. The book is generously economical with the truth, given that President Rawlings supported President Mills consistently from the year 2000, much to the anger of those who morphed into post-victory supporters in 2006.
Let me give you 2 angles that is reported. One has to do with the contest of 2008 elections. Mills didn't want to contest the poll because it was not well, but Ahoy pushed him. This is in relation to the place that the book says that Mr. Rawlings wanted Ato Ahoy to contest Mills. Mr. Rawlings explained that Professor Mills had called him to South Africa, where he had gone to receive medical treatment to indicate his desire to forego the presidential race owing to his medical state. Rawlings described as bizarre Kwame Nkrumah's lengthy diatribe about how he, Rawlings, coerced Professor Ahoy's brother Ato to contest Mills ahead of the primaries, leading to the breakdown of their healthy relationship. According to Rawlings, Mr. Ahoy instead forced Professor Mills to contest the polls despite his ill health against his will. Then he also denies claim that his wife, Mrs. Rawlings, had an intention to succeed him after the 2000 elections. So you can get a copy. How many chapters of the letter? 23 pages. And read it for yourself.
Yes.
Let's get into other angles.
Oh, I like a quote in it. It
Okay,
says,
go
the
ahead.
truth is a debt owed to the memory of the departed, as well as current and future generations. Okay. Well, the former president also introduced his running mate to the Asante Hene yesterday. That is also making headlines. Be honest with Ghanaians. Otumfuo charges Mahama to admit his wrongs in government. That's on the front page of the Statesman. You can get details on page 2. It says that the former president, John Dramani Mahama, has been charged by the Asante Hene. Otumfuo said to the Second to be honest with Ghanaians by admitting the wrongs he did while in government before telling the nation the new things he's bringing on board as he seeks a comeback to the presidency. Some people have interpreted Asante Hene's admonition as a call on Mr. Mahama to have the humility and honesty to first admit that his presidency was a disaster and that he would not repeat same if voted into power again.
Well, reporting from Kumasi, citynewsroom.com, Mahama promises to introduce cooperative mining to regulate the sector. Mining keeps coming up. Former President Mahama says the next NDC government will put measures in place to regulate the country's mining sector. And speaking at Menshia on Wednesday, Mr. Mahama noted that he would introduce what he calls cooperative mining, where mining activities would be well regulated. He assured that military personnel would not be involved in mining-related activities should he be elected president on December 7. Now, since you're on the subject of mining, let me just give you a related story from Star News, where the Minister for Local Government says 500 former Galamseers have received vocational and technical skills. The Minister for Local Government and Rural Development has disclosed that over 500 youth who were previously engaged in illegal mining have received training in technical and vocational skills and have been supported with startup tools and equipment through the Alternative Livelihood Program. She was taking a turn with the Meet the Press series. She says an additional 670 youth are currently undergoing training, of which 240 are in community development institutions, while 367 are attached to master craftsmen and are undergoing apprenticeship.
There's an interesting story on local governance in the center thread of the new Crusading Guide. Government increases MMDA's net transfers from 35% to 53%.
Okay.
Now, the story says the government of Ghana has, through the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, increased net transfers to MMDAs from 35.1% in 2016 to 53.4% at the end of 2019. The Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Haji Ali Mahama, made this known to the media to Meet the Press on Wednesday, August 26, 2020, at the Information Ministry in Accra. And according to the minister, this is the most important part for me, a local government finance bill has been drafted.
Local government finance bill?
Yes.
Good.
And consultations on the bill were conducted and feedback incorporated. And the bill is at the Attorney General's Department for final review. We must see this to see how...
Yeah, it's an interesting... So still from that program. It's funny how this went under the radar. She said a lot of interesting things. Over 700,000 beds, 51,000 deaths registered in 2019. This is the minister again. Just to give you some context, the minister says last year saw 707,064 infant births registered, although the target was 879,000. The number was made up of 359,000 males, 347,000 females. And then he gives some breakdown in the various regions and things. Very interesting statistics which are useful for development.
Yes, you can also get some data on page 6 of the daily guide. Staying around that, Bernard, on page 11, the Gender Minister and Parliamentary Select Committee have visited witch camps.
Yes, that was on TV as well.
The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection and the Parliamentary Select Committee on Gender, Children and Social Protection have initiated steps to help address the issue of witchcraft accusation that has led to the establishment of witch camps in the northern part of the country. The initiative as a long-term measure also lead to the reintegration of the alleged witches into their communities and the subsequent disbandment of the camp. So that's a good one there.
Let me go to some of the manifesto things. UOF Grant says new airport for Cape Coast is more prudent than dualizing the road. He was speaking on face-to-face. CEO of GIPC, UOF Grant, has defended government's promise to construct an airport in the central regional capital Cape Coast. The promise was contained in the MPP manifesto launched August 22. Speaking on face-to-face, UOF said there was enough investor-related evidence to back the establishment of a new airport in Cape Coast.
Okay, let me take you to some other stories. If you go to the back page of the Ghanaian Times, 250 farmers forced to abandon 750-acre rice farms in Bosa South.
Why?
Because they need a weedicide to fight something we call the wild rice. And it's expensive. They cannot afford it. So a lot of them are abandoning their farms, according to this report. Now, one of the farmers, Mr. Moses Akontu, who stated that the government had not done much to honor their pledge to support the farmers, added that the weedicides for spraying the weeds that had attacked the rice were very expensive and also difficult to come by. Mr. Emmanuel Afoko, another farmer who told the Ghanaian Times that the weeds had the potential of reducing yields, appealed to the government to, as a matter of urgency, support the farmers to deal with the infection to avoid food insecurity. And these are farmers in the Busa South district of the Upper East region in the Fumbisi Valley.
And the president's interest in cocoa continues, Bernard. On page 3 of the daily guide, quite a lot happening around cocoa. In recent times, government backs CPC's turnaround efforts. President Adam Akufo-Addo has assured the management of the cocoa processing company of the government's support for the company to ensure that the processes and measures the company has inherited as instituted to turn around its fortunes are successful. He said although the CPC inherited a debt of over $100 million in 2017, he was impressed by the measures already put in place to increase production, cut costs, and improve the viability of the company to play a critical role in the government's policy of value addition and industrialization.
Suhum, interesting story. MCE and MPP executives clash over hot meal for students. This is Star News. The MCE for Suhum, Margaret Dakwa, has clashed with the Suhum constituency executive of MPP over the preparation of hot meals for private and public final year junior high school students. According to the constituency executive, there's a directive from the national executive of the MPP that the contract for preparing the meals for the students must be given to constituency executives. However, the MC has disregarded the directive and instead issued contract letters to different caterers without the consent of the party executives. Due to the misunderstanding, many schools in Suhum municipality were not served with a hot meal on Monday when the program started. A constituency executive told Star News on Monday, on condition of anonymity, that the MC said he will use police to intimidate the constituency executives when they bring their food because he has instructed caterers to cook. Yesterday, amicably, the constituency executive spoke to the head teacher and the caterers hired by the MC that they can continue to cook but subject to new terms and conditions with the constituency executives. So the whole thing is about who is cooking and who is chopping. This matter. So this is from Suhum. I hope the kids get their food today. If we've settled that matter.
Can I give you some other stories from the other political parties?
Of course.
For example, CPP to commence aggressive grassroots campaign towards election 2020 victory. This is Nanaya Jantwa. The newly elected General Secretary of the CPP has disclosed that the party will soon begin an aggressive grassroots mobilization campaign to revive its membership drive for the December polls. Now, GUM, the Ghana Union Movement, yes, is to develop a homegrown policy for Ghana. And according to the leader, Ghana's debt stock has surged by 16.9 billion cedis in the first quarter of 2020. And Ghana has little to show for it. And when they come, they will develop a homegrown policy which will give Ghanaians value for money.
And finally, preparations ongoing for September 1 airport reopening.
Okay.
Very, very big news there on page 12 of the BNFT. The Minister of Aviation, Joseph Kofi Adda, has told the BNFT that preparations are still ongoing for the planned reopening of the Kotoka International Airport. The Minister said that as part of the measures, there will be a testing of the facility today to ascertain its robustness and preparedness to handle the safety protocols outlined by the Ghana Health Service. Good news.
And finally, the Minister for Local Government also said that government is resolved to push for partisan election at local government. So that issue is going to come up again. Gentlemen, thank you for being on the program. Coming up next is the Citi Business News. Stay with us.